Previously on episode 9 of Roofless, Frankie begins her journey in prison after being sentenced to 20 years for shooting Lonnie. As the prison bus rolls down the highway, a passing funeral procession reminds her the day she buried her mother. Lost in memory, Frankie recalls a quiet conversation with her sister after the funeral, where she shared the heartbreaking news that doctors had told her she would never be able to have children. Confused by the unexplained injuries they discovered, Frankie searches for answers she never knew she needed. And now for episode 10 of Roofless, A Key to Hope. Grace doesn't know it yet, but today will be a very special day. Before sunrise, she's already awake helping someone fold blankets while Ava quietly smiles. Grace notices. What's that smile for? Nothing. No, that's your I know something you don't face. Ava laughs. You've been around me too long, girl. One by one, members of the homeless community began arriving, not with expensive gifts, but with what they have. One brings cupcakes, another brings candles. Someone found balloons in a dumpster that only needed a little air. One little boy picks a handful of flowers growing through a crack in a sidewalk. Everyone contributes something. Grace is confused. What's going on? Ava smiles. What's July 14th? Baby, it's your birthday. Grace looks surprised. Grace stops and smiles. I forgot. I know. Grace starts to cry. Not because of presents, but because she realizes this is the first birthday she's ever had where people celebrated her, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Then Ava says something beautiful. Sweetheart, you spent 4 years making sure everybody remembered they mattered in one way or another. She smiles. Today it's your turn. One by one, Grace receives a huge hug from each of her friends. Then a familiar voice. I guess I'm not too late. Everyone turns. Standing there is Willie E. Notzla. Only he doesn't look the same. He still has the same smile, but now he's wearing a white doctor's coat. The medical book is gone. Grace freezes. She whispers, Willie? He smiles. No. He laughs and says, It's Dr. William E. Notzla. The whole camp erupts. People are hugging him, shaking his hand. Ava cries. Regina nearly tackles him. Willie laughs harder than anyone. Then he walks over to Grace. She throws her arms around him. You did it! Willie smiles. No. He looks at her. We did it. Willie reaches into his pocket. Grace smiles. Oh, nice. You brought me a birthday card. William shakes his head. No. He places a key into her hand. I brought you a front door. Grace looks confused. What? Willie points across the street. I've got something I want you to see. They walked several blocks. Willie stops in front of an old, abandoned house. It doesn't look like much from the outside. Grace looks confused and a little disappointed. What is this? Willie smiles. Open it. Grace unlocks the door. The hinges creak. The door swings open. Grace steps inside. She freezes. Inside, she sees fresh paint, working lights. As she looks around, she sees a great room with a large, comfortable sectional sofa, a 65-inch TV, plants, a recliner, an ottoman, bookshelves with one huge book on the top. Willie's medical book. That made them both chuckle. Nothing extravagant as the mansion where Grace had grown up, but everything dignified. Grace turns around, speechless. Willie simply says, I remembered what it felt like to have somebody believe in me. He smiles. So I created a place for somebody who believes in everyone. Grace starts crying. I can't pay for this. You don't have to. It's yours. He shakes his head. Grace, I could never repay what you gave me. You gave me back my future, the life I always wanted. So this is me giving you a place to build yours. She quietly looks around. She smiles, then asks, how many people do you think we can fit in here? Grace never once asks, is it mine? She asks, who else can come? Willie laughs. I was wondering when you'd ask. Willie smiled. Follow me. Upstairs and down a hallway were 5 bedrooms with 5 beds and dressers and covered with new sheets with comforters on each of them, a nursery with 2 cribs and children's toys in one corner, a small kitchen, but a dining room that included a table that seated 10 people, curtains, and everything else it took to make a home. 2 years had passed, and Willie had returned on Grace's 18th birthday. Hundreds of miles away, behind steel bars and concrete walls, another life was quietly changing. Frankie no longer measured her days by the sound of the prison doors opening and closing. She measured them by the pages of her Bible. It started with a woman named Lois, whose gentle spirit stood in sharp contrast to the prison around her. Every morning before sunrise, Frankie would find Lois sitting quietly on the edge of her bunk, reading scripture and praying. At first, Frankie only watched. Then she listened. Eventually, she sat down beside her. What began as curiosity became conversation. Conversation became conviction, and conviction became surrender. Frankie gave her life to Christ. She still carried the weight of her past. She still grieved the choices that had brought her to prison. She still thought about Lonnie. She still wondered where Grace was and prayed that she was safe. But something inside her changed. For the first time in years, Frankie stopped asking why her life had fallen apart. Instead, she began asking him what he could do with the pieces that she had left. Each morning, she prayed the same simple prayer. Lord, I cannot change yesterday, but if you'll help me, I'd like to change me today. The prison had not become easier, but Frankie had become different. And while Grace was preparing to celebrate her 18th birthday, surrounded by people whose lives she touched, Frankie was celebrating a different kind of birthday, the day her heart began to live again. But on that very day, July 14th, God was opening a new door for both of them. One would receive the keys to a house, the other had found the key to hope. You have listened to episode 10. If you enjoyed it, please hit like and share and subscribe. And remember, listener discretion is advised. Thanks for your support.